Hello. Welcome. Welcome to, this is the Parsha My Life class. And I want to address the events that have been going on now. I'm in a different place, as you can see, not in our regular place. I'm at the good friend's home at the Jacobsons over here in Laguna Beach, California. So a little bit of a change. I hope the sound was good. I bought myself a little microphone for this event. And I hope this whole thing will go down really well. Ezrat Hashem. This is a very, very important class. This is kind of, wow. This is beyond what is going on. And this is connected to everything we've been talking about in this class for the past year in the magnificent Mashiach. I'm sorry, just for a second. I'm just adjusting some things over here. In the incredible state we're in right now, that is indicating that we've literally entered into the zone of the revelation of Mashiach. And in this class, we're going to cover, reconnect the dots from everything that has been happening till now, which we've discussed and predicted that would happen this year. Meaning I didn't predict anything in the literal sense. I'm not a prophet, but we were talking about the spiritual energies and the spiritual dynamics of the years based on the overall time that we're living in right now and pointing to certain events which seem to fit just amazingly into both biblical and rabbinic prophecies going back thousands of years, and also modern day prophecy related to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who told us that in advance the times that we're living in, that is really, really the bedrock and the foundation of everything that I've been saying, is that it all gets its certification because the Rebbe told us, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said to us, that we are in the time of redemption already 30 years ago. And that's really what makes all of this certain. It's not could be. There have been many times in history that wonderful things happened to the Jewish people, but what certifies it all and makes it all absolute is the prophecies of the Rebbe. And we are watching what the Rebbe has been saying 30 years ago unfolding in front of our eyes right now. So to begin, first of all, the quick connection to the Torah portions. First of all, the event began this extraordinary moment, and I'm talking about Israel's attack on Iran's nuclear facilities and at their ballistic missiles and so on and so forth, and the unbelievable speed of the takedown of the entire Iranian military, which parallels and even surpasses probably the 6-Day War. What we are watching now is absolute stunning divine miracles. And it's not over. We're just getting warmed up. We're just getting warmed up. It's incredible. And even just the degree of excitement that I have today in giving this class versus giving this class yesterday is up a couple of notches based on where we're seeing where this is all heading to. It is absolutely incredible. I'd like to connect it both to last week's Torah portion, because last week's Torah portion was Parshas Ba'aloscha, and the event started when Israel was Thursday night, which is really Friday of Parshas Ba'aloscha, which, by the way, the Rebbe had already stated that powerful messianic events have a special reason to start on Friday, because we are in the Friday of time, in the millennia of Friday, the sixth millennia of creation, which is between the year 5000 and the year 6000, which is the time period that the messianic era unfolds. For those who think that Mashiach comes by the year 6000 are making a huge mistake, as we discussed already earlier. Mashiach's era is not after 6000. After the year 6000 to the year 7000 is post-Mashiach era. The era to live Mashiach is between 5000 and 6000. It's particularly between 5500 and 6,000, the last 500 years of the fifth millennium, and even more so the last 250 years, because it corresponds to Friday afternoon, based on the idea that 500 years is that 1,000 years is considered a day by God. So Friday, by God, is the day that He created Adam, and Adam's soul, human soul, is really Mashiach. Mashiach is really like the great Kabbalists tell us, that the word Adam, which is spelled Aleph Daled Mem, stands for Adam David Mashiach. That the real human being, Adam Arishon, is personified by the Mashiach. And when was Adam created? On the sixth day of creation. So that's a prophetic symbolism that in the year between the year 6,000 and between the year 5,000 and the year 6,000, Mashiach will be revealed. When? Well, when did God create Adam? They didn't create him on a Thursday night. Thursday night, God created the beasts. It was Friday. And there's a whole system according to exactly when. It took many hours for God to create Adam. He did it slowly throughout the day. And there's a whole Kabbalistic formula based to figure out the arrival of Mashiach based on Hashem forming Adam Harishon. I think the Vilna Gaon speaks about that a lot, the Gaon of Vilna. In any case, but not to get distracted, Friday day is divided in Friday morning and Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon from midday is when we really, really, really prepare for Shabbos, which means that's the Messianic era. So that we went into the year 5750, which is 750 years into Mashiach's 750 years into into the sixth millennium is 250 years of the daytime. 500 years is day, 500 years is night. The last 250 years, sorry, just someone is calling it. I didn't. The last 250 years is the period that Mashiach is most likely to arrive. In the last 250 years, the Rebbe said that was the year 1990. Now we're 30 years later. So whatever is happening right now, everything that happened in the world until now is all Mashiach unfolding. But what we are watching right now in its spectacular display is absolutely stunning. Now, again, that's what I'm saying. It happened on a Friday. It happened in the week of Parshat Bahaloscha. And it's continuing in the week of Parshat Shalach. So I'll first talk a little bit about what's so super exciting about Parshat Shalach. This week's Torah portion, Shalach, talks about the spies. Now we know that the Jewish people sinned a very great sin, is because when God was going to take them into the land of Israel, the Jewish people blinked. They sent spies. Spies came back and dissuaded the Jewish people from going into the land. And the main reason they dissuaded them was they were scared and they were frightened by the military might of the nations that were living in Canaan. They saw the giants over there, and they felt like wimps. As they said, we feel like grasshoppers. That's what they felt in front of these mighty, mighty people. And that was the real reason was their fear. After that, they came back and they complained about some other things. They said it's an amazing land, but it's got like these issues. Primarily they said we're going to go there and we're going to be slaughtered. And that got God very upset, because God said, after all the miracles that I've shown them, they're still doubting my power. I am backing them up. Why don't they trust me that they're going to have the power and going to be able to conquer the land? I have to say that my heart is swelling with joy, because the Jewish people now, after a few thousand years, have trusted God again and embarked on the craziest mission. Instead of being trembling in fear from the giants of the Iranian mullahs and the possibility of who knows what kind of devastation they would be up against, and they would be, against whatever kind of forces that would come against them, and whether the entire world would gang up against them for doing what they did. God gave the strength to Bibi Netanyahu to make this incredible decision, to go in it alone. I don't know to what degree the U.S. was involved. I think obviously they had the green light from President Trump, but definitely not that he was at that point. Now we'll see things are changing. But at that point, it seemed like he just gave them the thumbs up and allowed them to do it. The fact that they did it, and they had the guts to do this with absolute faith in God, that God would stand by them and he would protect them, they accomplished a stunning, absolute stunning victory. I mean, we don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't know yet when this war will end. It's not surprising to me that within a day or two, we're going to see the entire collapse of the Iranian regime. It's going to be kaput. It's over, especially if the United States gets involved now. They are literally showing, you see how many missiles they're shooting now. It's to think about the fact that Israel is attacking them right and left. Not one of their planes is flying over Israel. Not one. And not one IDF plane was shot down. That's absolutely stunning. Now, I just wanted today, it hit me the other day, just to compare it in terms of the scope of this. You know, Israel is ranked, I think, in terms of size, I looked it up today, 153rd nation in terms of its size of its country. From all the countries, 153. It's not at the bottom. I think the smallest, I think altogether is about 213 or 250. So it's, okay, there's still tiny countries. We're somewhere in Africa here and there. Tiny little bit, but it's pretty. It's very, 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 very tiny country. And Iran is the 17th largest country in the world. So they're on 153. I'm talking about a landmass. Now, Russia is the largest country in the entire world. Now, Russia wanted to take down Ukraine. Now, well, let's talk about a minute about Iran's army. If you look up, and again, I just did my AI research. I just put it out there, just did before I gave the class. When you look up Iran's power as a military might, they rank Iran either the 14th or the 16th most powerful military in the world. Okay, now it doesn't mean they made a mistake. It's just that what we're watching now is God's miracles. But what they estimated, based on statistics, based on I don't know whatever they're using, they estimated Iran as the 14th or 16th mightiest military in the world. Israel, they actually estimated as the 15th. It's almost right in the middle. But if you think about Putin trying to defeat Ukraine, and he's already fighting for 3 years, a country that's right next door, and they're the largest country, and with military might like Russia has, like the Soviet Union has, and they still haven't gotten anywhere, with thousands and thousands of their soldiers dead, and killing who knows how many civilians in Ukraine. And here we're watching Israel, and it's not 3 days, I'm talking about it's 3 or 4 days, in which they totally devastated the Iranian. Okay, you say it's the brains of the Mossad. There's brains and brains, but if God is not standing with you, and if God is not assisting you, all of this doesn't work. Everything had to work perfectly to the T for them to be able to come up with the surprise attack and to be able to do what they've been doing. It is absolutely stunning. But the point over here is what I'm excited about more than anything else is that Israel showed their trust in God. And it was on display. Because before the war began, we know a few things. One of the things it is known, again, I haven't confirmed this, was that Bibi Netanyahu and his cabinet split amongst themselves the book of Psalms. And everybody in the cabinet said certain Psalms, so that together they said all the Psalms. In other words, they turned to God for assistance. That's a key important thing that Israel and the government, a lot of the government are religious, but most of the government is secular. And Bibi Netanyahu himself, at least outwardly, or the way is more or less not a religious Jew. And yet, he, in this time, right before he began this attack, we all saw, he went to the Kotel, he went to the Western Wall, and he prayed. He put on a talit, and he prayed, and he wrote a note, basically sending a message to God, asking God for assistance, and using a term from the Torah, a biblical prophecy that speaks about the Jewish people standing up like a lion. And Am Kelavi Yakum, the Jewish people will rise like a lion. Now, a lion doesn't ask for approval from anybody else. The fact that Israel went in at it alone, everybody always said, Israel will never do it alone. They did it alone, knowing all the animosity, knowing all the hatred, knowing the world's constantly spitting at them, the world hating them. that Israel had the guts to do this. And what's so beautiful, it's a moment of peace in Israel itself, which is also amazing. It's a moment of unity. There's a lot of discord, and there's a lot of people, the Israeli government. You think American politics is nasty. Israeli politics is like, it's like American politics, the craziness of the last few years on steroids. And yet right now, you're watching all of Israel unified in this moment because something sparked the soul of the Jewish people. It's Amunah. That's why I'm feeling this is such a tikkun. This is such a tikkun. There is Amunah in God. A people who does not, the Rebbe spoke about this. The Rebbe said when Israel went out during the Entebbe operation, and they went out and they attacked, the Rebbe said it was such a daring act to go fly over enemy territory. Back then, I'm talking about when Entebbe took place, whenever the year Entebbe took place. So when they flew all the way into Africa, very, very far, and they had to kind of hide themselves, remain hidden, flying over so many hostile countries back then, and do such a dangerous thing. Only for absolutely crazy do you do that. You have to, but Israel, here's the thing. They are crazy with love for each other. Even though we fight, we love each other to death. It's like a close family. It's like a close family. Everybody in the family fights with each other, brothers and sisters, but we love each other to death, and we care about each other. So for Israel, for having its hostages being held over there, you act in an insane way. And the Rebbe said the fact that they were able to do this insanity also shows on a tremendous trust in God. I have to say, 3,000 years later, we did a tikkun right now, and precisely, and listen to me, listen very closely. I mean, I'm saying me, it's not me, but I think this is so important. It's precisely because it did not come from the rabbis of Bnei Barak, the rabbis from Jerusalem. It came from the secular government in Israel. That's what makes it so special. If it's rabbis that are inspiring it, if it's the rabbis that are pushing it, okay, so it's the religious element. It has to come from the bottom up. It has to come from the people. It has to come from the Jewish people repenting. This is repentance. The ultimate repentance. Of course, Jews have to keep Shabbat. Of course, Jews should keep, but the fact that Jews connect to God and they trust in God, and all of them are showing, no matter how secular they are, but they have this deep faith that they're fighting a just war and that they need to fight this, and they're gonna be successful. This is their emunah, and this is the tikkun on the sin of the meraglim. And let's think about it. The sin of the meraglim, of the spies, was what initially started Tisha B'Av. What brought us the 9th of Av, which is what caused, God said, you cried. The Jewish people came back when the spies came back, and they related how the giants are there and how terrified they are. Again, and there they had Moses with them, and they just saw the crazy divine intervention. Here we weren't even sure that God will intervene, or God will stand behind you, because it's not like we're walking with Moses speaking to us, surrounded, and just right after the giving of the Torah, and God opens up the heavens and comes down and speaks to them all. We're living after 2,000 years of divine concealment. We're living after a Holocaust. We're living after all the trauma that the Jewish people have been through. And yet the Jewish people now show trust and belief in God to do this special act. So this is a tikkun on Tisha B'Av. We know on the Meraglim, so that we know that when the spies came back and the Jewish people then heard that report, they were all weeping all night long. And God said, you wept for nothing. For nothing. You're just a bunch of babies, crybabies over here. For no reason you're scared. You didn't trust me. I'm going to give you a reason to cry. And that was the night. That's the night of the 9th of Av. And God on that night decided, and that day would be a time for weeping for centuries. So we know the first temple was destroyed on the 9th of Av, sent us into our Babylonian exile. Second temple was destroyed on the 9th of Av, that very same day. The Spanish Inquisition, the expulsion from Spain, along with the Inquisition and so on and so forth, was the 9th of Av. The First World War broke out on the 9th of Av, and we know that in some ways the First World War and the Second World War, which is the Holocaust, are all intertwined well with each other. So you're talking about what that 9th of Av caused us, the grief, the pain throughout history. Now what do we see? This year, in the year 5785, on Parshat Shalach, right now, or the Friday before Parshat Shalach, the Jewish people embarked and did a tikkun on the sin of the Meraglim, I believe, just in showing their faith in God. The Tehillim, the people believing in God and knowing that God will back them up, went out and they were stunningly successful. Okay. Now, a couple of other very important ideas. What needs to be understood in this entire event is what led up to it, because this would not have been possible without a few other events that took place in the past year. Now, we can really back it up for more than a year. We can really back this up. I mean, there's no, you can go back and there's so many events. We will one day be able to look back and put and connect the dots. I'm just going to point to a few of them. A couple of years ago, in the first Trump's, during Trump's first tenure in the White House, Trump attacked the Iranian general that wreaked havoc and fear and struck fear even in the heart of the mightiest Israeli warriors. And that was Soleimani. That man was a butcher, but he was also an incredible strategist. He was a brilliant person. He was the one who orchestrated everything, the entire Iranian axis, all the proxies, everything, even Putin to come in and support Syria and Assad. That entire structure, all of that was all in one person. So the miracles of what just happened, and I don't know if Soleimani would still be there, we would be able to play chess the way we're playing with them right now. Obviously, God can do anything and he can take down Soleimani and all of this, but we're looking at these pieces as they unfolded. That was an stunning divine providence that he should be taken out. In other words, that weakened Iran tremendously. Now, the date is very important when that happened. It happened on Hey Teves. Hey Teves is a very significant day. It's the 5th day of Teves. It's the day that the Lubavitcher Rebbe, that in Chabad is known as Dida Natzach, the day of victory. The day of victory of the Rebbe won his court case against against people that wanted to take away the library, which I gave a whole class this year, how that was not just a story of a library, how that is plugged into a war against Mashiach. So when the Rebbe won that, and that day became the Dida Natzach, and in Chabad today we still call that day Dida Natzach, we've won. And as I discussed many times, that's Mashiach's victory over the forces that are opposing the Geula, that are trying to stop redemption, which is already the last phase of the forces that are trying to stop redemption. Probably started in Napoleon's days, all the way from Napoleon, which we gave a whole class about that. There is a very interesting piece that has been going around on WhatsApp. I received it on WhatsApp, might be on Facebook and another else, where there's an amazing calculation from the Vilna Gaon, the Gaon of Vilna, in which he speaks of the 24, I think, 28. Yeah, I think it's 28. 24 or 28 in the book of Koheles. I'm not going to try to say that in English because it's a crazy, I forgot that. The book of Koheles, it lists 24 or 28 various different times. 28.
No, but the word 8 is time. The word
No, but hold on. There is the word ace. Yeah, ace. There is different periods. There's a time to love, there's a time to hate, there's a time to dance, there's a time to cry, there's a time. So I think there's 28 of those, the various different times, opposites. So the Vilna Gaon says that if you take all of time, 6,000 years, and you divide each one, you divide it by 28 sections, I think it was 28, you get 214 years. Based on that calculation, according to whoever made this calculation, this year, the year 5785, is when we start Ace Shalom. It's the last time. The last two in that setting is Eight Milchama, the time for war, and the time for peace. So this year, 5785, between this year and next year, 5786, is when we transition to the time of peace. Time of peace is the ultimate tranquil time that is Mashiach's time. It is preceded by a very, very, very volatile time in history where wars, it's one continuation of war. And you might even argue and say that the war of Gog and Magog is like this entire period of time spanning 214 years. So when I looked up when was the beginning of Eit Milchama, the beginning of the war, turns out in 1811. So in 1811 is when Napoleon was in the midst of his conquest. The Alter Rebbe passed away in 1811, 1812, I think, 1812 maybe, or 1813. It's when the Alter Rebbe was running away from Napoleon and fighting this war, seeing Napoleon. So that literally starts this period of war, this period of. So I gave a class a few months ago, it's worth listening to, in which we discussed how the Rebbe's Dida Notzach is connected to the War of Napoleon, which is interesting. So on the day of Dida Notzach, on the 5th day of Tevis, Soleimani was taken out. That's a few years ago. Another very interesting event that maybe we forget, because these events happen so fast, we don't put together the dots. A very important event happened last year. On the 11th day of the month of Iyar, not this year, the past year. I don't have the secular dates, but you can look it up. When Raisi, the prime minister of Iran's helicopter, went into the mountain. That was a completely, I don't know if it was the Mossad, if it was a divine act. I'm not exactly sure. If it's the Mossad, it was also a divine act. But whether they sabotaged the helicopter, I don't know. But the fact that it was a cloudy day and he came back on that morning in his helicopter, that guy was an enormous Jew hater. And together with him, some important people died. I'm sure that event as well played a major role in the weakening of Iran. They were in disarray after that happened. They were in disarray after that. That day also was a very interesting day, also related to the Rebbe. Because to me, it's very, very important that we realize that if we're looking at Mashiach's times, we can't see Mashiach's times without Mashiach. In other words, and this is where this channel is different than all the other channels. Because everybody else is going to talk about Mashiach, but they're terrified to identify who Mashiach is. Here, I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. I'll tell you right now. The Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, had already revealed himself in the year 1990, 1991, 1992, clearly through all his talks, said it again and again and again, said it in a way that it's almost impossible to say that he didn't say it. He never said, I am King Mashiach, but he said that again and again and again through all kinds of different ways of saying it. He left the actual full declaration of that we should be the ones who have the merit to be able to do that. It's a whole class for itself. But what I am pointing out now is that everything that we are watching happening is very, very amazingly connected to the Rebbe, including to this event. Because if you know what happened 2 days before it all went down and was publicized all over the world with Javier Milei, who went to Netanyahu and had a meeting with him, Argentina, and brought him something really special. I believe that was the final thumbs up for Netanyahu to give him the strength to do what he needed to do. I'm not the only one who's saying this. Lots of other rabbis are saying that. So let's not lose focus again. So going back to the elimination of Raisi, it happened on the 11th day of the month of Iyar. That's exactly 1 month after the Lubavitcher Rebbe's birthday. Why is that so important? Who says there's any? Just 1 second. Just want to make sure that I can't. Yeah, we're good. Just want to make sure our battery is good. We still have quite a lot. Good. The 11th day. Why is it so significant? Because the Rebbe. It's a month after the Rebbe's birthday. If it would be the Rebbe's birthday, it's one thing. So I've spoken about it last year. Very interesting. The Rebbe once spoke on the 14th day of the month of Iyar. The Rebbe says it's a month after Maimonides' birthday. Maimonides is born Erev Pesach, which is the 14th of the month of Nisan. So the Rebbe spoke then that Maimonides' energy is very strong on this day, the day of the 11th of Iyar. He's very strong. Why? Because halachically, a person, when a baby is born, the baby is not considered a living, certified, if you might say, living, a strong human being that we can assume is going to live until they're 30 days old. That's why halachically we don't do a pidyon haben. For example, a firstborn needs to redeem himself by a kohen. We don't do that redemption until the baby is 30 days old, because we don't want to make the father pay his 5 coins unless we know for sure that the baby will survive. For 30 days, if the deal, for many years, childbirth was very dangerous, and a lot of times babies themselves, they didn't have the care that we have today, incubators and all that. So a lot of babies didn't make it through the first period of life. So until 30 days, therefore, halachically, when a baby is 30 days old, then you can check it off. We can assume that this person is going to live healthy, and so on and so forth. So the Rebbe then said, Maimonides' day where he becomes a strong force in the world is a month after he's born. So if the Rebbe said it about Maimonides, it of course applies to him as well. The 30th day after the Rebbe's birthday gives a certain strength. The Rebbe's energy on a birthday, b'chlal, in general, the Rebbe always spoke that on a birthday, a person's energy is very strong, but it applies also a month after that. And we discussed many, many ideas, wild ideas, of the connection of that death of Raisi with the Rebbe and the number 11. There was tons of discussion on that. Look up the classes that I don't remember the names of them, which I gave back then. Maybe I'll find some of those classes and I'll put some links to them. So if anybody wants to listen to when we discussed each of these events in their here, I'm just making very short references to them. So now we continue further. What I'm mainly crazy excited about is what I shared with you this year, because there was a 70-day period at the beginning of the year in which I didn't stop quoting to you a prophetic passage of the Zohar. I maybe quoted it 10 times in classes this year, maybe even more, where the Zohar talks about a certain series of events that are going to happen over a 70-day period, aligning with a star that is going to be seen in the sky. And the Zohar speaks, and the Zohar says that 70-day period where that comet will be seen in the sky is an indicator that Moshiach, this is unbelievable, is dominating over all of his enemies. In other words, there's powerful, powerful forces, spiritual forces, physical forces that are fight against Mashiach. Mm-hmm. And there's a certain point where Mashiach stands up and kind of breaks this entire axis of evil. And it's a 70-day period. Now, the Zohar predicts it to start on a certain day with the opening round, a star in the sky, and a powerful event that is going to happen in the city of Rome, where 3 major buildings, towers will come down, and the leader of that city will die. Okay, and the Zohar tells us exactly the date, both the month and the date of and which day of the week it will come out. This is one of the last Zohars in Parshas Balak. Daf Reish Yud Beis, Bamidbar, everybody wants to look this up. Daf Reish Yud Beis, I think Amid Aleph or Amid Beis, Zohar, Balak, on the pasuk Dorach Koichav Meyakov, that a star will shoot forth from Jacob. So what was amazing was, I was telling you from last year, again, I didn't wake up after all of this. We were talking about it before it happened, months before, and it wasn't me, someone sent it to me. But why did it catch my attention? Because someone showed me that the day the Zohar says that a star is going to be seen in the sky. NASA was predicting a comet is going to emerge on that day, September 27th. You can look it up. A3 is the name of the star with some other fancy Latin word for it. I don't know the name, but you can look it up. An A3 star, September 27th. They said it's going to be the day the star will be seen, and that was the day that the Zohar said it's going to happen. The Zohar didn't say which year it would be, but the Zohar said it's going to happen on the 25th day of Elul when it comes out on a Shabbos. And last year, in the year 5784, which was the year 2024, the 25th day of Elul happened on a Shabbos. So what happened then? Israel attacked Beirut, which, as been mentioned, Beirut, and this is thanks to Rabbi Palinov that he gave me that connection. He spoke about the Zohar a lot. So that Beirut was a Roman city in the days of the Zohar, a major Roman city, where they had law schools of Rome. Anybody that wanted a license for any type of official Roman papers would go to Beirut. So the Zohar says 3 towers will come down and a major ruler will die. And this will spark wars. And so this will be the opening act of Mashiach. So let's go back. Everybody knows. If Iran would have all their proxies right at the border of Israel, I don't care how good Israel is to fly over. First of all, Israel would not be able to fly over Syria. They would have Hezbollah on. They would have to pass through all the rockets of Hezbollah. They would have to pass over Syria to get to Iran. Secondly, the moment it would happen, Iran would give the sign, and thousands, think about Iran shooting missiles, thousands and thousands of missiles would come pouring down right into Israel from Hezbollah. It would be absolutely Holocaust. Israel was counting, everybody was predicting that if Israel goes to a full-fledged war against Hezbollah, they will win. There was no question Israel will win. But at what cost? The blood that would be shed would be beyond imagination. We all remember the beepers, which completely, this happened before the 25th day of Elul, yes, but on the 25th day of Elul, a major giant of a wicked man, Nasrallah, was killed in that attack Friday night, the 25th day of Elul, exactly as the Zohar predicted will be the opening round of the 70-day period. The Zohar continues. Now watch these events. Think about it. If we even begin to imagine where Israel stood 2 years ago in terms of enemies and its power to where we are standing today, do you realize that we can wake up tomorrow and literally the entire Middle East has changed? Mm-hmm. There's absolutely no threat to Israel. Egypt probably the Turkey needs a little kick in the tuchus. I'll say it as it is. That's for them. But there's no one there. They would never act now alone. First of all, everybody's dead scared of Israel now today. No one is going to mess with them after what they've seen right now. But it's wild. So, but you think about it. This entire axis that was surrounding Israel like this was broken first in the first 3 months of this year. Okay, Hamas, they launched their attack. They were, we haven't finished with them yet, but that's going to be very quickly cleaned up once this war is over with Iran. Very quickly, because their entire backup is gone. They're probably just going to run for their lives. They're just going to. There's no way they're not going to have the energy to fight anymore because they'll have their backup is gone. So again, it started with Hezbollah being completely destroyed. Now the Zohar continues and predicts that as that star is now. By the way, that star came out on that night, and the star would continue. The comet was seen, not in the northern hemisphere. Was seen in the southern hemisphere. But a little while later, you can actually see it over here. And someone showed me an amazing picture. He saw it in Tucson. Incredible. Look it up. Pictures of star A3, an amazingly bright comet. Then what happened? It's interesting that on Yom Kippur was the day that it was expected to move to the northern hemisphere. You could see it in the northern hemisphere, and we know Mashiach is the essence of the Jewish soul that's revealed on Yom Kippur. So it was very telling that the day it was seen on the northern hemisphere was on Yom Kippur, I think October 7th, 10th. October 10th. Then let's continue. The next major prediction the Zohar says is going to happen in those 70 days is that when the star is going to reach the middle of the sky, or not the middle of the sky, it's going to reach the middle of the world. I don't know what that means. There is going to be a new king that is going to rise on the world, who is going to be flaunt his power and his arrogance over all the kings in the world. And the Zohar seems to be saying that this is part of Mashiach's way of breaking the darkness in the world and gaining control over the world. So as we were gearing up for this, it became very clear that the Zohar was not referring to Kamala Harris. That's all. I knew that. I know if she's not, then there was no one else on the ballot, right? There's no one else we can think of is going to be a guy who's going to flaunt his power over everybody, and everybody's going to shake the entire world. And it's going to be pretty good for the Jews, right? And breaking this axis here. Can anybody even begin to think? I don't care how much you hate Trump. You might hate him, but can anybody, if you're a Jewish man or a woman, can you even begin to imagine what Israel would be under had she been president now? You might as well have Bernie Sanders. It would be the same story. Israel would be condemned. Israel would be shouted at. All arms would have been taken away from them. No support at all. There's no way Israel would even come close to doing this. We would be dragged and forced to sign ceasefires and done who knows what with all of our enemies, and we would have been in the weakest unimaginable state we would have been had God forbid that happen. God comes along with a stunning, if you think about Donald Trump, where he was, where he's they're so insane, these people. Today's days, everybody, all these Democrats who are believing they're going to have power are trying to get themselves mugshots. They're all trying. They think that because they're going to get the win to get to the White House is to have a mugshot. Well, Donald Trump didn't win the presidency because he had a mugshot. That was against him, right? He won the presidency because God wanted him there for a purpose and for a reason. But if you only stop for a moment, you can't forget the moment that he came so close to being assassinated. A millimeter. A millimeter, you watch the bullet, God made it that the whole world can see, that he turns his head a tiny bit and that whizzes through. If you don't believe in God seeing that. And someone reminded Donald Trump about that today. Mike Huckabee reminded Trump about that today. Because there's a massive tug of war going on in the United States of America from Trump's people himself, who are trying to hold him back from mixing into this war. American help would be very helpful in obliterating the last piece of the Fordo, I think it's called Fordo nuclear plant that is buried very deep, which needs those bunker buster bombs. And Mike Huckabee wrote to the president today how it was for this moment, resounding the words of Mordechai saying to Esther, it could be for this moment is when you arrive to your kingship. It's for this moment that God appointed you. And your moment right now, this is what he wrote to him, and Trump shared it. That it's for he said, I know you're hearing a lot of voices coming from everybody trying to tell you, I don't want you to make decisions based on anybody else. Other than, I'm just reminding you about the moment that God himself saved your life. And probably you're going to be the most consequential president in all of history because of this moment. This is amazing. This is a non-Jewish Jew telling Trump this. And it says, just think about it. And if we hear tomorrow that Trump joined in this, and very, very much to the credit of Mike Huckabee, very much to the credit of those biblical words that he said to Donald Trump. So this is, and let's not forget, may I remind all the audience, look it up. President Trump visited on the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, on the 5th day of Tishrei. I don't remember what the secular date was. President Trump at that time was not president yet, was running for the office, visited the Rebbe's resting place, as they call it, the Ohel, and prayed. right over there. And you can look it up. I'm not making this up. It's exactly on that day that his poles started moving like this. It was not even the poles. They were trying to put him down the whole time. They were trying to ignore it. But in the betting thing, look it up. I forgot what was the name of the betting, one of the main betting sites. It's crazy that I forgot. At that time, I was checking it every 30 seconds. So I, so much so that my phone didn't even want to check it anymore. Got angry at me for every. I forgot what it was called. Poly market, something. Poly's. I was checking it nonstop, but it went up. He shot up on that day, and it started going like this. Unbelievable. And he went way up in it, and then he took the election, winning all 6 states. All of this, what Israel did right now, would not have been possible had, you know why? I don't believe Netanyahu would have had the guts to do it. I mean, if he would, then that would have been a much bigger miracle. I can't say he wouldn't, but it would be a much bigger miracle if Netanyahu would go it alone with Kamala being in office. The fact that they did it now is because they knew that when push comes to shove, the man in the White House is going to back them. And he's been, doing a lot. Okay? So all of this was part of what the Zohar predicted. Then the Zohar predicts another event. Let's not forget. The Zohar predicts an event which is going to conclude at the end of the 70 days. And the Zohar says that at the end of the 70th day, which is, you can read it the last day of the 7 days, or you can leave it the day after. The event that actually happened the day after, but it could be read both ways. I haven't. The Zohar says, as the 70 days conclude, the place of the holy, around the holy temple for 45 mil, which is a certain measure, let's say 45 miles, will shake and tremble. 45 mil will shake and tremble. People thought it would mean a big earthquake in Jerusalem. People were petrified. I mean, some people, those who follow these classes. A woman sent me a message. What should I do? I'm following your classes. This is the final piece of the Zohar. It says everything happened accurately. I live right next to the temple, not far from the old city. I'm scared there's an earthquake. Who knows what's going to happen? And whatever. We were waiting breathlessly to see what was going to happen. But I gave a class on the 70th day of this thing, not on YouTube. I don't think I did it on YouTube because I did it to a class of girls that I teach, high school girls on Friday. I can bring you the testimony of those girls. I told them on that Friday, this is the day before the 70 days were over. This was the 5th day or the 6th day of Kislev. I told those girls and I said, listen up. By the time Shabbos is over, Assad in Syria is going to be out of power. Now, how did I know this? I'm not a prophet. I knew it because I was trying to figure out what this earthquake can be. And I found out something incredible that was going on that week. Was around Sunday, Monday of the week before this week was over, or the 7 days were over, reports were coming in from Syria that a rebellion had kind of started, and that the rebels were stunningly moving through Syria and taking over province after province after province, and they were moving towards Damascus. And war is going on, and the rebels are getting stuck. And it was shocking. Now, why did why did they excite me so much? Because I remember, because we forget all these things. I for years I was wondering why the butcher of Damascus, Assad, was still in power. We all remember the Arab Spring. Now you have to realize, you see, all these events are all pre-messianic events. I'm going to say they were part of Mashiach's coming. The Arab Spring that began, which toppled major governments all over tyrants, all over the Middle East, is all part of the weakening of this Islamic caliphate, if you might say. The fact that they were all toppling one after another was just, and so what was very shocking was that the only one who didn't fall was Assad. It was strange because there was a big attempt to overthrow him back in the Arab Spring. When was that? I think 2011. There was a big attempt. They came so close to doing it, but then Putin came in and saved him. Now, why did Putin save him? By the way, let's go back to Soleimani. Soleimani was the one who encouraged Putin to come into Syria because Soleimani wanted to keep Assad in power for the sake of Iran. You realize how all these things are connected. So amazing. Any case, but he didn't fall. But I was looking for a spiritual reason. If all of them are going, how come he's lasting? So I did some research back then, years ago, and it kind of like hit me this year all over again. Because when we started seeing that he's getting weak, is that Assad, that Damascus spiritually was a very, very, very dark energy that is the antithesis to the Holy Temple. Because in Hebrew, the word for the temple is Migdash, and the word for Damascus is Damascus. So Damascus and Migdash are the same letters. So it was, and I even took it further that Migdash is God's base on Migdash. That's called which name of God? Migdash Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Aleph Daled Nun Yud, which is spelled, is the first time Migdash is mentioned in the Torah. The first time, which is always the most important time, it's Aleph Daled Nun Yud. The numeric value is 65. Assad's name is also 65. It's clear that he was an antithesis to the Holy Temple. And therefore, when the Zohar, when I suddenly hear a week before that week, when the Zohar says we're ready for the grand finale of Mashiach finally busting the entire klipa, the entire force of the grip of the unholy that it was stopping the redemption from happening, Mashiach is now going to break that axis of evil. And suddenly we're hearing that there is a rebellion churning that is bubbling in Syria. It became very, very clear that it could be, this is what the Zohar means, when the Zohar says there will be an earthquake. Mm-hmm. There will be an earthquake by the Holy Temple. That means when the Holy Temple would tremble, its opponent, like a seesaw, when one shakes, the other side goes. So when the temple will shake with messianic bubbling energy, with Mashiach, it's preparing already for the redemption, Damascus has to fall. This is, by the way, from the Arizal. The Rebbe once said, the Lubavitch Rebbe said, the Rebbe was begging Israel during the Beirut War to go all the way into Damascus. The Rebbe wanted them to do it, I think, in Yom Kippur War, or to take Damascus. The Rebbe then said that if they would take Damascus, even if they would hold on to it, even though they would conquer it just for a day, just symbolically, they would make it easier for Mashiach. Those were the words the Rebbe said. Unbelievable. So Damascus, so I told the girls, mark my words, Shabbos is over, Assad will be gone. And I was wrong. You know why? Shabbos was over, I ran to the news station, and Damascus did not fall yet. But 2 hours later, they did. So it was. My accuracy. I cannot claim prophecy because I thought it would be by Shabbos would be over, and Shabbos was over already. But 2 hours later, he ran, and the whole thing was so divine because they ran. And you think about these rebels. Who were they? They were coming on pickup trucks. They were not. Assad had a military. He had choppers, he had planes, he had tanks. Okay, he was weakened by years of insurgency, by years of in-house fighting. True, but he still had a decent military. Who are these guys? They were, yet God cast the fear on the Syrian army. They literally dropped their uniforms and ran. Now that was a major piece in what's happening right now, because once Assad and Syria fell, and a new government in Syria that is claiming at least, and now once Iran is gone for sure, there's no question that they'll be very, very happy to work with Israel, make peace with Israel. There's no way he's going to try to, he has no one to even join now. It's like, it's clear that Syria is going to flip over. It's incredible, even though he was once an ISIS guy. So it's just unbelievable, this guy. Anyways, had Syria still been the old Syria, then Israel would have a major block in being able. And more than that, as long as Syria is there, Syria was funneling, so then Hezbollah would be able to be rehabilitated. The fact that Hezbollah was not able to be rehabilitated is because Syria, which is the pipeline from Iran to Lebanon, and where the Hezbollah were was cut off. So it's unbelievable. That's a 70-day period. So those were the events that cleared the way for the grand finale, for what's happening now. So what the Zohar said is going to happen this year. So what did the Zohar continue? Then the Zohar says, you should know that after this happens, beneath the temple, a cave will open up and a fire will go out to burn the world. And I was wondering what that fire was. I don't know, but it's not far from my mind to think about the Californian fires that happened here in LA, which were like stunned the entire world. And when I say the world, Hollywood is very much the world. The world's the unholy world. So it's not. I don't know exactly what, where, and when. Also, there were big fires in Israel too this year, but I don't want to associate those that happen much later. But the Zohar then continues that from that cave a branch will go forth, and to him, which is talking about Mashiach. In other words, from these events, the branch of Mashiach will come forth, and to him the entire world will gather. So after those events happen, basically Mashiach has muscled his way spiritually and then manifesting physically into the world. Now there's a clear run for the redemption. But we were waiting for this last bit of evil to be destroyed. Basically, the destruction happened already a few months ago because they lost all their power. But once that was done, now Israel had an open line, open runway right to Tehran to completely obliterate them. What do we know is going to happen in the time of the redemption? The spirit of impurity, God says, I'm going to remove from the earth, which includes evil people that have a philosophy of death, that just want to murder for the sake of them going to heaven and getting whatever promises they've had. That's pure evil. These people needed to be removed from the face of the earth. Not the Iranian people, but this government needed to be obliterated. There cannot be a nuclear Iran threatening, and Mashiach, obviously, Mashiach gets rid of it. He doesn't have to deal with it. It's done before he comes in a revealed, open manner. Okay, so all of this leads us to the next thing, which I think is stunning over here. And that is, so when we have this entire story of the Zohar, leads us into something else that we've been talking about this year. And that is that the year 5785 is a year, 85 we discussed, is a year of Od Yoter Tov. Od Yoter Tov. Discussed. You can watch a clip from last night or 2 nights ago. I think it was last night. At the Kotel. At the Kotel, thousands and thousands of Jews gathered to pray. And they sang a song. And the song that they sang was Od Yoter Tov. God loves me, and God is going to give me good, and even more good, and even more good, and even more good. This was the song that they're singing. This is the song they're singing in the shelters when they run for cover, when the Iranian missiles are coming in and they run for cover. In the shelters, there are videos of all the people singing Od Yoter Tov. If you go to any Israeli and you tell them Od Yoter Tov, they all know what you're talking about, no matter how secular they are. Everybody knows the song. What's the song? It's a song of tremendous, incredible, pure faith that God loves the Jewish people and he's going to give us only good. This song made its way, exploded in Israel this year. When I say this year, I mean in October. That's when, after Rosh Hashanah, this song became a national hit. The hostages in Gaza heard the song in Gaza, and it gave them strength. A month before that, in this class, on this channel, I was talking about the concept that this year is going to be a year. Now, again, I mentioned this just simply out of a hunch, out of an intuition. I was not the one who originated this idea. A friend of mine sent me before the year, like 3 weeks before the year began. When I say before the year, the Jewish year, before Rosh Hashanah, sent me that the Rebbe said that 85 is the numeric, based on Kabbalah, that 85 is the numeric value of 5 times Tov. Tov is 17. 5 times 17. 85 is only divisible by 17. 5 times 17. It's the only way you can divide 85 besides 85 times 1 and 1 times 85. 5 times 17 is the only way. And the Rebbe said that on a certain year, that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe's 85th wedding anniversary, the Rebbe said it's an amazing year, blessed with enormous blessing, because it's 85 years of the leader of the generation's wedding, and therefore there's a tremendous download of all elements of good. Every file of good that there is in heaven is being downloaded, because God has 5. The right hand of God is his hand of kindness. It's got 5 fingers. The 5 fingers are the 5 times Tov. It's called mystically in Kabbalah 5 Chasadim. He sent me that, and I ran with it. I said to everybody, you're going to see 85. This year is going to be a smashing year. I do have to say that I believe that I merited, I don't know from where, a certain hashgacha, a certain divine inspiration, which I shared with, because it is coming together in an absolute stunning way. That which we spoke about, this is going to happen this year. I felt like the Rebbe, gifted me, Hashem gifted me a message. These 5 times Tov. Why? Go back to my YouTubes from that time. I call this year will be the year of the great circumcision. What does circumcision mean? That all powers of evil will be removed from the world. Now, where did I have the crazy guts to say that? How did I know? I don't know. I was just feeling it. And I was saying that this year would be a circumcision. But I based it on what? I based it on what the Rebbe said, that 5 times Tov. I did research about 5 times Tov. I came across a lot of Arizal. I used a lot of Sefer B'nai Yisachar, which is a great Hasidic book based on a lot of Kabbalistic ideas, and did some other research in other books. And I put together a whole file on the concept of these 5 chasadim, 5 powers of kindness, which are 85. Now, 85 is also the numeric value of Mila. Mila means circumcision. So based on that, I said that this year is going to be the year of circumcision. What's the circumcision? The foreskin. That means that which blocks the revelation of godliness in the world is going to be removed. And the 5 chasadim, the 5 powers of chesed, that is the hidden light. Anybody that learned a little Kabbalah knows there's something called Or Haganos, the hidden light of Mashiach, that God has hidden and is going to reveal it only in the time of the redemption. That light is going to be revealed in the world. So it wasn't only that it's going to be a good year of great light, it's Mashiach's light. That's what we're talking about. The hidden light of Mashiach is going to manifest and reveal itself in the world this year. Because in the first day of creation, it mentions 5 times light. Or, corresponding, because light and kindness is the same thing. Sunday, it's all Sunday. Sunday is the day of kindness. Monday is the day of Gevurah, those who are mystically inclined. So Sunday is kindness. 5 times chesed, because the 5 times or, which is. Then I had a thought. Again, you can listen to all. I'm going to post some of those classes down here in the links, so you can listen to them, because I'm just going through it literally right now, just to pinpoint. And I mentioned at that time that it occurred to me a few weeks later. This is as the year is bubbling. It's like it's unfolding in my head, and I'm sharing it. And I said, maybe it's interesting. Maybe if you take the year, which is 355 days, and you divide it in 5. I didn't even know. I'm terrible at math. Even though I talk always gematria, but I'm just not good with math. So I had but thank God I have a calculator. So I just count 355 divided by 5, 71 days. That means each section is 71 days. So I had this intuition to say, maybe the first download is the first 71 days. Second download is the second 71 days. The third, it's exactly 7. Well, by the way, 71 is the same letters as 17. Same numbers, just a reverse order. And it's 5 times 12, which is over 17. So how do you like that? 85, the salt, unbelievable. Good. Okay, so just a few weeks ago, you can listen to the class. I don't remember the name of the class, but a few weeks ago, I said that you should know that we're coming. I'm not saying anything. I'm just sharing what, the thoughts that are flowing it's all because the audience is excited about Mashiach. So, I hope I'm being fed with some truth and some inspiration and some light. I mentioned that the certain week, I think it was the Sunday, no, a week and a half before the 33rd day of the Omer, the week before Lag BaOmer, on Sunday was beginning the fourth download of the fourth Or. In Shabbos and my shul, I spoke about it very strongly, and then I made a video the next week about it. And I said, this past Sunday is going to be the fourth download. What's so special about the fourth download? So let's go back to the first verse in Genesis. It says, Vayomer Elokim yehi or, let there be light. Then it says, Vayehi or, there was light. Then it says, Vayar Elokim es or ki tov, God saw that light is good. Then it says, Vayavdel Elokim, Hashem separated beina or ubeina choshech. God separated between light and darkness. Then it says, God calls light day. So when it came to the fourth download, I got very excited. I said, listen, guys, there is no question that in the next 71 days, you are going to see the final separation of good and evil. It's going to be checkmate. Over. Now, by the way, it's interesting. You've watched in the last years, whoever is related to the world of goodness and holiness is being drawn and supporting the Jewish people. Whoever is souls, I don't know where their souls are plugged into, but not necessarily in goodness and holiness, are coming out, and there's something pushing them beyond even reason to come out against Israel. You know, Israel's attacked on October 7th, and right in the most horrific way, and yet people use exactly that event to come out and support Hamas and against. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Instead of people having compassion, instead of people, the Jews become the Nazis, and the Jews are the baby killers, and the Jews are the this. I mean, it's just absolutely stunning. You see that it's something impure in their souls. There's nothing else to explain. But you're watching in the last couple of days, you know, you had the various left, then you had the right, that generally the right has been supporting very much. But now you've been watching recently that within the right, a tremendous split. Those that are moving off and like don't want to support Israel in any way, want America, and getting angry even and blaming Netanyahu and blaming the Jews. And like, with it, you're watching such separations that are happening. And then there's just a selected few righteous Gentiles across the world. When I say a few, I mean millions, but are fully backing the Jewish people, backing truth, backing morality, backing true, the emes. It's so beautiful. But it says, Vayavdel Elokim, God will separate. So I took a big gamble. I said, listen, in the next 71 days, I'm telling you it's going to happen. And then started the last 71 days started, and I haven't really gotten anything exciting in the news. Until now, this week, boom. Now, how much I didn't expect it, I'll share with you how much I didn't expect it to happen this week, because I had tickets this past Sunday to fly to Israel. According to my little puny mind, I would have been in Israel right now. And I'm not in Israel right now. I'm in Laguna Beach doing California, giving this class. Why? Because my flights were canceled. And all my plans that I had went down and I say, Rabbis Machshavos Belevish, lots of thoughts are in the hearts of a man. Vatzas Hashem Usakam, and God's plan are what I didn't expect this. But this is what happened. Unbelievable. But when did it happen? So I said, okay, well, that's interesting. It happened 40 days on the 41st day after the beginning of this 71 period. Friday, last week Friday, was the 41st day of this section. Now, by the way, it's very interesting. The 5 cheseds correspond to chesed of chesed of gevura, which is the chesed of discipline, the kindness of kindness, the kindness of gevura, the kindness of teferet, and then finally the kindness of netzach, which netzach means victory. So that's one of the reasons I said that the kindness of God is going to be expressed in victory. Final victory over light, over darkness. Now, by the way, it's very exciting. The last download starts on the 17th day of Tammuz, the day in which we begin the mourning period of the whole exile. The Jewish people have a fast day on the 17th of Tammuz. It's the beginning of when Jerusalem was breached. But that's when we are expecting God to call out. Vayomer Elokim, God would say, God called La'or to the final light, Yom Day, and it was declaring it as Mashiach. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to wait till then, till Mashiach to come. Mashiach can come and should come this second. Right now, even while I'm talking, I can want to. You saw that lady giving the interview in Iran. Not interview. She's giving a broadcast for Iran, and she's talking over there all fiery, almost as fiery as me, right? She's all fiery and speaking about how probably the Iranians are winning and they're killing those Israelis, and suddenly, the whole building shakes as she turns around and she runs. Okay, we wish her well. I don't know where she is, but she ran. It was like, so I don't mind that the blast of the shofar just blasts right now, and this class is just, no one is even paying attention, and we're all running to Mashiach, and we're all dancing all night long, and it's okay. So, but in any case, God forbid we wait a little bit. It's interesting that the 17th of Tammuz is when the final download, where God declares victory, that light is day. That's very interesting that it happens to be on the 17th of Tammuz, which we know is the time where exile starts, and our job is the flipping over of exile to redemption, to reveal the hidden good that is hidden in the darkness. It's what the whole exile is all about. So it's amazing. May God help us. We should never have to even wait till then to talk about it, because we should already be in the full mode of redemption now. But in any case, so I counted this week how many days in this download. So Thursday last week was the 40th day. Friday, which is the day of Israel decided to attack, was the 31st day. So I'm thinking 71. Is there any reason to divide 71, 40 plus 31? And actually, I'm thinking the word Mem Lamed Aleph. So I'm working with Mem Lamed Aleph. And it occurred to me, yeah, the word Mem Lamed Aleph spills the word Mole. Mole means to be full. Or Mile. Now, where does the word Mile come from? So in Psalms, there is in Psalm 107. I don't know which verse right now. I forgot to look it up right now. I don't have books with me right now. But in Psalm 107, a very famous psalm, we say it Tehillim, Kuf Zayin, we say it before Mincha on Shabbat. It's the institution of the Holy Baal Shem Tov, in which he said we should say this every. And over there we thank God for all the miracles He's done for us, and we say, Ki Hizbia, God satiated Nefesh Keka, a yearning soul, the Nefesh Re'eva, and a hungry soul, Milei Tov, God filled it with Tov, with good. So right away I'm saying, wow, Tov, the 5 Tovs that are downloading God's. It's one thing that God is downloading. It's another thing that it's filling us. The Tov has to be absorbed in the world. Now, how long does it take for the vessel to absorb? If God begins the vessel, how long does it take for a actual filling of something? So according to Torah, the vessel is filled in 40 days. That's when the recipient receives. A mikvah has 40 cubits, 40 saws, not a cubit, but a certain measurement, 40 saw. A baby is considered a full child as a fetus. In the fetal state, it says, according to the Talmud, you can't pray. Until a baby is 40 days, you can still pray for the gender to switch. If you want to have a boy, you want to have a girl, so you can still pray. But once it's 40 days old, it says it's decided already. You're not this way or that way. So whatever science says doesn't make a difference. Prayers can override what science says. But according to Torah, 40 days, Moses was 40 days in heaven to receive the Torah. The Jewish people spent 40 days in the Midbar to receive the 40 years in the desert to receive the Torah. The world was cleansed by the flood for 40 days, because that's what it takes in order for something to really fix or be absorbed somewhere. It needs 40 days. Therefore, I'm thinking that when God is downloading this last Tov, the Tov of victory, that this victorious power should be absorbed by us. And here's the thing. Israel needed to go, because God didn't do this on his own. He wants us to do it. That's why these miracles are so much greater than in Egypt. Like a parent who's always running for his child, always doing things for a child. At a certain point, he tells his father, you can do it. The father is always punching the guys out that are coming. Then the father says, you've been taking karate lessons with me all along. You can knock him out. Go for it. Bang. Take him down. And the child knows he has the power of his dad. Of course he's going to do it. So here's where God is standing over there. And I'm telling you, God is literally popping champagne now. Because he doesn't want to get involved in a way that he's doing miracles like this. He's helping us. But he wants, go, Israel, go. Go, Jew, go. Don't be afraid. Don't blink. Don't be afraid of the entire world. Literally, go for it. It's amazing. By the way, I should tell you something. And I know there's a lot of anti-Semites who maybe listen to this channel and you're going to grind their teeth. And I don't care. I want to tell you something really beautiful. I've been in the hotels the last 3 days. I'm not at home. And the last hotel, there was a lot of people in the elevator. I felt pretty good being a rabbi there with my kippah. Very different than I would have felt a few months ago. Walking everybody, I felt pretty good. Because I knew that whenever they're going into their rooms, they're watching television and they're seeing how Israel is doing what needs to be done, and not afraid of the entire world. It was pretty awesome. In any case, but here's the thing. In order for that power, that tov, the tov of victory, that we should have the power of Netzach to do it, it had to go into us for 40 days. On the 41st day, we swallowed the pill, so to speak. And we had that incredible energy of Am Kelavi, of people like a lion. God is the lion, we're not the lion. But we're a people like a lion because we're God's children and God's people in this world. So rising like a lion is rising with divine power, with God's power, and doing what needs to be done. Incredible. Now, this is what leads us to something extraordinary. It happened. Now, by the way, the date that it happened was very significant. It was by the way, we're talking about Tov. It happened on the 17th day of, when did Israel launch this attack? On the 17th day of Sivan. So it was on the day of Tov. In a year that's only Tov, and everybody is singing Yelanu Rak Tov, Od Yoter Tov, this ultimate messianic incredible event that just took place happened on the day of Tov. It's also thanks to a good follower of mine in New York, Moshe Rubin, who shared with me this great thought. He told me immediately when the attack happened. He said it's 17 days before Gimel Tammuz. No. So you got also 17. It was literally the 17th day before Gimel Tammuz. Gimel Tammuz is the day that the Rebbe took a pause. I'm saying it the way I see it. Took a pause and gave us the ability to do the final acts of pushing the redemption without him physically being here, because he wants us to step up to the plate. And will, Be'ezus Hashem, return here soon to complete the work of the Geula. But Gimel Tammuz is a very powerful day. It's a day very strongly associated with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. 17 days, so it's 12 days before Gimel Tammuz. It is, for those who want to know, also the 26th day before Yud Beis Tammuz, which is 26 is the name of God, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the tetragrammaton, the numeric value is 26. I'm going through a lot of Kabbalistic ideas very quickly, so you might need to do research on what I'm saying here. It's 26th day before Yud Beis Tammuz. Yud Beis Tammuz is the Rebbe's predecessor's day that he came out of Soviet Union, which was really the beginning of the redemption. Because you realize the fight against Mashiach, and we said started already, you had Napoleon fighting. Satan is fighting the redemption from the day the world was, from the tree of knowledge, he's fighting the redemption. You realize a war that started in the Garden of Eden by Satan and the snake is now coming to a conclusion. It's one story, but there are certain moments in history when it becomes more intense, that fight. So Napoleon was a crucial part of it. The Soviet Union, when they stood up and wanted to snuff out Judaism in Russia, that was a major surge of the unholy trying to topple the redemption. The previous Rebbe, when he was released from jail, miraculously, and he fought them like a lion himself. His redemption, the Rebbe said, is the beginning of the redemption of the Jewish people. Because first it has to be in the leader, and then it comes to the people. It's a long thing. So it was 26 days, which is God's name, before leading up to Yud Beis Tammuz. It was 11 days. For those of you who've been following my classes, number 11 is very important. It was 11 days before Chavches Sivan, 28th of Sivan, which is the day the Rebbe came to America. The Lubavitcher Rebbe. Which the day the Rebbe came to America, the Rebbe explains, is the last job for Mashiach to lift the world from the lowest place, from the bottom up. To lift the world up. The final preparation for Mashiach is to go to the lowest place, which is the United States, which is lower and the lower. It's a long discussion, which we're not going to get into right now, but the Rebbe arrives to the shore of America, which is kind of where he later is going to be appointed the leader and lift the whole world up. So these numbers are very, very significant. But what I really want to talk about is something stunning. It happened Parshat Baaloscha, Friday, Erev Shabbos of the Torah portion. What does Baaloscha mean? And I'm going to spend like a few minutes on this because this is absolutely stunning. Baaloscha is the mitzvah in which we're given to light the menorah. It opens up with the commandment that Aaron, the high priest, my great-great-great-great-grandfather, should light the menorah, should kindle the lamps in the Holy Temple. Now, the Torah uses a term, not when he will kindle, but when he will bring up the lamps. Rashi makes a comment that comes to teach you a very important rule, that the Kohen cannot light the menorah and say, oh, it's burning, and step away, and then say, I lit it, and then the candle is not burning anymore. But who cares? He lit. You can't leave the wick until you're sure that when you pull the wick away, the kindling match or whatever it is that they used, the kindling fire, when you'll pull it away, the wick on the oil are already burning on their own. The Kohen has to wait. Sometimes sometimes it'll take a few seconds for it to catch on in a way that he knows that when he pulls away, it will burn on its own. That's why I'd say when it will bring up, you have to wait till it's bringing it up. It's self-contained, that fire. It doesn't need the igniter anymore. So the Kohen did not do the mitzvah if he's in a rush, someone is picking him up. Uber is standing outside. They're connecting the Kohen. He's got to run out of the temple. He goes, he lit it, and then I did my mitzvah. Doesn't work. You have to wait until it's burning. Each one of them are burning, and then you're done. Now, the Rebbe takes this simple teaching and turns this into the ultimate teaching. Now, and when I say the Rebbe spoke about this Rashi, I can't even tell you how many times. But especially the last few years of the Rebbe spoke this. And in an amazing talk, the last talk the Rebbe gave on this Shabbos, Parshat Baaloscha 57-51, 1991. The Rebbe then gave such a beautiful lesson and such a beautiful teaching. And basically, just to be short, he's explaining that each and every one of us is a lamp. And we all have people that kindle us. Who kindles us? First of all, God kindles us by giving us a holy soul. That's God kindling us. And then God inspires us. There's actions in life that are inspirational. And our parents, if we have good parents that are educating us in the right way, they're lighting us. Then we have our teachers. People who teach us, people that inspire us. Whether it's a teacher that you've been at school, teacher that you're learning, yeshiva and seminary, wherever you have a teacher, whether you found a good teacher on YouTube, whatever it is, these are teachers. These people who inspire you. What happens if your teacher on YouTube is nowhere to be found? He's not making a class. He's whatever. He's in the hotel somewhere. He's checking it out. I don't know. He's out for lunch. Where is he? So that's it. I don't know. I don't have any inspiration. No, you better find the inspiration from within yourself, the Rebbe says. In other words, you haven't fulfilled, you're not really a lamp until you have to be able to burn from within yourself. If there's no one there to teach you, if Iran shuts down the cyber situation and you can't get onto YouTube and you can't get onto anybody, and you're in the dark and there's no inspiration, you have to be able to find the inspiration within your own soul. That means a lamp that's burning on its own. And the Rebbe says we have to holiness and godliness that we ignite within ourselves has to become so much part of us that we don't need reminders. We don't need external inspiration. We don't need stimulators. We burn on our own. Then the Rebbe goes even so far and he says, you should make yourself into a lamp of God that your soul doesn't have to even inspire your body. Think about that. Your physical matter of your body should instinctively do a mitzvah. That means when you walk by a door, you shouldn't have to think that you should kiss the mezuzah. It should become natural that your hand rises up and kisses the holy scroll. The mezuzah is the scroll that's by the door. When you see a charity box, it shouldn't have to be you're inspiring yourself. Your soul is inspiring yourself, or someone is out there collecting money. It should be instinctive to you that your hand reaches in your body and give tzedakah. So everything has to become so much part of the physical universe, has to become so embedded in the world that the world itself becomes godly. The world itself starts to shine with a brilliant godly light without any input coming from any heavenly intervention. So the Rebbe says it's a lesson in our own lives for ourselves. But when we teach students, you have to make students that they don't need the teacher anymore. Your students should be able to stand on your own. You have to stand there with your lamp and light a student so much that they don't need you anymore. Of course, they can be inspired by you, but they can come up with this, they can teach themselves and inspire themselves and get excited and think the right way without having to have a teacher continuously pouring and inspiring them. Basically, what the Rebbe did for us in the last 30 years is that he left the physical plane saying, hey, I taught you how to burn on your own. Burn on your own. Light up the world with Mashiach's light. You have it all in you. I've given you already all the lessons. I've given you all the teachings. I've given you all the knowledge. You're not Mashiach. Mashiach is Mashiach. But to inspire the world, you can do it. Then the Rebbe says, and the Rebbe makes it so simple and so beautiful that even for little children, he says we should set up, this is so beautiful, you should set up your home in a way that you affix a pushka, which is a charity box, to the wall. But fix it in a way in the wall that when you walk into the kitchen or you walk into your bedroom, the charity box itself calls you to put it in. In other words, set it up in a way that it reminds you, you don't have to remind it, meaning you don't have to inspire yourself to do it. That everywhere in your house should be reminders to be spiritual, to be holy, to be godly. It should speak to you. The world should speak to you. It calls out to you. Do a mitzvah. It's almost like, when you light a candle, you lit it, and then it's burning. Now you need fire. I don't know, you're a smoker and you need to light your cigarette. And guess what? That very lamp that needed you to light it, now it's inspiring you. We have to set up the world and make it so godly, the Rebbe says, that the world reminds us to do mitzvahs. And the Rebbe says the same is with Jew and Gentiles. We have to imbue the world with so much godliness that the world, that means not the Jewish people, the Gentiles themselves remind us how Jewish we are, how godly we are. The Rebbe doesn't say specifically the Gentiles, but he talks about the influence on the world has to be so deep that the world itself, without the holy Torah, the downloading from above, it's not needed. The world is calling for the Torah. The world is rising for holiness. Now watch this amazing thing. That's what I'm saying about when we're saying when the light comes down and fills, and 40 days it fills it. What's the ultimate sign of filling? Is that the teacher doesn't have to pour into it anymore. It is burning on its own after 40 days. So watch something absolutely spectacular. About 35 years ago, Bibi Netanyahu was there's videos of it. Bibi Netanyahu is by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Rebbe tells him a prophecy. At that time, Bibi was not prime minister. Bibi was an official in the Israeli. The Rebbe literally looks him, and you can watch this. The Rebbe tells him, you will have to stand strong. And you will be able to stand against the entire world. And you're going to have to fight against 119 people. Meaning, the entire Knesset has got 120 people. Prime Minister is one of those. So even if you will have 119 people, you will stand against all of them and be strong and do what you need to do. Stand strong for Israel. The Rebbe said this to Netanyahu. The Rebbe also told him, when you go into the UN, that's when for a while he was an ambassador for the UN. You're going to be going into a room full of darkness, into a hall of darkness. Remember, you light one flame of truth. A little bit of light pushes away a whole lot of darkness. This is the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Literally, you can watch prophecy on a video. You can watch a prophet talking to a person. Okay. Netanyahu has struggled all these years with implementing what the Rebbe told. There's a lot of moments when he looked like he wasn't strong. A lot of moments when he looked like he's cowering to this one and to that one, and he's not. This week, as I told you, I shared with you on last week, Thursday, Netanyahu rose like a lion. It was his decision. He knew what kind of responsibility, he knew how scary it is. He has all the reasons to be afraid. And he rose like a lion. But you know what's inspired him? I don't know what was going on in Netanyahu's mind, but I can know one thing. I have no question that until the moment it actually came Friday, he had, when you're going on such a mission and you're putting your entire nation in danger, think about it. Iran can hit back, and we don't even know what can hit back. And God forbid, he probably had good reason to believe it would be successful, and he was resting that. But you still, just in case, if God forbid, he causes a massacre in his people, I mean, he would die from pain, even just from his humanity. I believe he's a good person, a very good person. In addition to the fact of what they would do to him in Israel. To go and embark on such a decision and make that very bold, it needs tremendous guts. You're looking for a sign from God. And Netanyahu received a very interesting sign last week. Got a visit by the president of Argentina, a Gentile, who loves the Jewish people, loves the Torah, and has got, from all the leaders of the entire world, probably the most plugged in to the ultimate truth. He's incredible. He studies Torah, he learns, he's inspired. And I'm talking about Javier Milei from Argentina. He came to visit Israel. And by divine providence, he comes to visit Netanyahu. And he brings Netanyahu a painting. The painting is of Netanyahu meeting the Rebbe when the Rebbe tells him that he needs to be strong because he's going to fight 119 people and he's going to have to go it alone, as the Rebbe is telling him. Don't be afraid, be strong. You can watch the video. I'm going to attach maybe a link to the video on the bottom, where Milei brings it to Netanyahu, and Netanyahu's face lights up. Now you realize, this is 3 days before Netanyahu's planning. He knows that in 2-3 days, he's got butterflies in his stomach. He knows in 3 days he's going to do the most courageous act. And he might be wishy like this. Here comes a Gentile, not a Jew, brings him a picture from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Netanyahu sees the picture, and Netanyahu says, do you know what he told me then? Do you know what he tells it? You know what he told me then? He told me then that you're going to have to fight against 109 people. He said he didn't even give me one. I thought he would give me at least 1 or 2 friends. Not even one. The Rebbe said, yourself. That's what Netanyahu says. Then Netanyahu says to him, you should know, this is a prophet. He's a prophet. He's unbelievable, he says. And Milei is saying, prophet. He says, yeah, they're both agreeing that the Rebbe is a prophet. Now stop for a moment. Parshas Baloscha, the Rebbe says, the world is going to remind you. Baloscha means that the Jew doesn't bring the godliness to the world anymore. The world itself, the world, the non-godly world, is going to rise up and absorb holiness so much. How do you know Mashiach is here? When the world doesn't need the Jew to remind them, the world on its own knows already the truth. It became part, and they remind, who lights the match? You don't have to light your cigarette. You don't have to light the flame. The flame that you've lit and you've kindled is now igniting you. Comes the president of Argentina to the president of Israel, to the prime minister of Israel, saying to him, Bibi, remember the word of God. Remember the word of the prophet who told you for this moment. Don't be afraid. Do you realize what's going on? And it happened the week of Parshat Baloscha. More than that, I thought of it even deeper. He didn't show him a picture. He showed him a painting. What's the difference between a picture and a painting? A painting is the event itself, a reminder of what happened. A picture is the event captured. A painting is taking, it's not the event. It's taking paint on a canvas, taking materials of the world and replicating that event. In other words, the fact that he showed him a painting, it too is expressing the concept of Bahaloscha. We're from the world itself. It's the world itself. It's the material, physical world begging Netanyahu, go ahead, remember the word of the prophet. Remember you can do it. Remember God is behind you. Remember you have nothing to fear but God alone. There's only one being over here. That's Hashem himself. And God's truth comes through the word of the prophet. Unbelievable. And what's his name? Milei. What did I tell you was the word that depicts the 71 days? Milei, Mem, Lamed, Aleph, Milei. It had happened, and Netanyahu hears about it. Mole, full. Milei means what's filled. A hungry soul. Who's the hungry soul? Who is the Nefesh Keka? Who is the thirsting soul? It's the world. It's the world. The soul of creation is thirsting for the ultimate truth, for the ultimate light, and God fills it. God fills it through all the Torah and the mitzvot that we've done, through all the prophets, through all the godly light that was downloaded to the world. Now the world is full, and the world is overflowing with that light. The inspiration for Netanyahu to go ahead and do this did not come from above, it came from below. But it had connected it to the prophet. It connected it to Mashiach. It connected it to a remembrance of the great tzaddik who told Netanyahu, don't be afraid. This is so incredible. And it's the week of, again, the time of the 71 days of the download of Tov, which this Tov is God separating between good and darkness. It's stunning. There's something also very amazing, I don't want to forget, that happened on the day. The 17th of Sivan is mentioned in the Torah. It's a significant day that's mentioned in the Torah. I'm talking all about last week, Thursday. When was it mentioned in the Torah? It was mentioned in the Torah as the day that the ark came to rest on the tip of, when the ark, during the flood is flooding, and it rests on the mountaintop. It touches earth. When? On the 17th day of Sivan. What's the significance of that? We know that the flood represents the exile. When the world is flooded with chaos, flooded with the ark, that's Mashiach. That's why in the ark, all the animals lived in peace and in harmony. Noach means resting, peace. Noach also means Shabbos. Mashiach's world is the Shabbos world. Noach is Shabbos, the Teva. Resting the Teva on the mountain means the world becoming cleared from all the chaos, from all the mabul, and the holy temple, Mashiach's world, finally touches ground. Noach is the middle letters of the word Menachem. Mashiach's name is Menachem. Noach is the center of it. So it was like a little preview when Noach's Teva. So I think it's very symbolic, and I didn't come up with this, people sent it to me. It was very symbolic that this beginning, in other words, what seems like people are scared, nervous, turmoil, like as if there's some major, no. What's beginning right now is the ultimate time of peace. Because you cannot have peace as long as evil threatens. When you have Iran dangling a nuclear bomb, you're not having peace. For all the peace lovers who want peace all the time, everybody has to de-escalate. Yeah, de-escalate. De-escalate before, and I find nuclear explosions in your backyard. And de-escalate. And when you're a chicken, when a moment comes when the world needs to act, and Israel already has gone and done the brave work, then everybody rises, de-escalate. No de-escalation. Now it's time to finish off the evil forever. And then comes in the time of true peace and true tranquility. So these are my thoughts about what's going on right now. And I will say like this, I want to conclude because this is very, very dear to my heart. The song that is being sung now by the Jewish people is Od Yoter Tov, because this is the year of Od Yoter Tov. It's Tov, Tov, the ultimate Tov is being revealed. The next song that the entire world is going to sing, mark my words, the next hit is going to be, okay, and you'll see if I'm right or wrong. Yechi Adonenu, Moreinu, V'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMoshiach La'olam Va'ed. Translated, long live my king, my master, my teacher, my master. Again, Adonenu, my master, Moreinu, our teacher, V'Rabbeinu. What is it? And our rabbi, yeah, that's right. So let's start all over again. Long live our king, our master, and our teacher, the King Mashiach, forever and ever. That's going to be the song. The entire world will proclaim the unity of God. The world will also sing Hashem Melech, Hashem Molech, Hashem Yimloch La'olam Va'ed. Remember one thing, Hashem's kingship manifests through the kingship of Mashiach. It is absolutely pivotal, and to understand where this energy is coming from, who is behind it, who is directing it. It's God directing it, but God is directing it through his human king. And because nothing can happen, but just like in the time of the Exodus, it didn't happen only through Moshe Rabbeinu, so it is in the current redemption. It will happen through Mashiach Tzidkenu. Mashiach is about to be revealed. There is no question that it's about to happen. We should all ready ourselves. We should all do extra mitzvahs. We should learn more Torah. Try to be in your highest, most beautiful self, because we're all really beautiful. If we need to polish up anything, let's get it polished up very quickly, because we're running out of time. But we should recognize that Mashiach will come and he will smile to us. He will thank us, and he will joyfully reunite with us. Bezrat Hashem. B'karav, mamish, 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 mamish. Thank you.